Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday. We were just talking about sacred communion and this holy joining that we share every day, 6 days a week anyway, almost every day. The opportunity to come together and to see only the Christ in each other because that's all there is. In other words, to come together and see the only thing that exists, the only thing that is real. To look through the mask, to look through the disguise, all of those shadows and the mist of the ego, the cloud and the smoke screen that the ego puts up to hopefully keep me from seeing what we're seeing right here. To hopefully keep me from seeing what has always been seen by God. And I don't know about you, but I'm refusing to be blind to that anymore because now I realize the cost. Now I realize what it has cost me to look anywhere other than everywhere. To look at anything other than the face of holiness or the face of Christ or the beloved or whatever words we want to use. It's the reality that we're feeling and experiencing. And this is the only reason for us to come together here every day because it gives us that immediate boost, that brilliant flash of light that reminds us this is the only reason why we are here. There could be no other reason but to break through that fog and that mist to what has always been true. And you are such a gift. We are such a gift to each other in doing only that. I was saying right before we started the recording that, being raised Catholic and very mystical, the Holy Eucharist was always something that was very important to me. When I was in the Franciscan order, we had what's called Eucharistic adoration, perpetual adoration, where the Eucharist, or what Catholics believe to be the presence of Christ, is in this monstrance up on the altar, and there's always someone in front of the Eucharist 24 hours a day praying. And because I was with the Franciscans, we took the wee hours. We would be there from, they think they lock the church at 11 and until 7 the next morning, it would be one of us. So I usually had, I think it was between 2 and 3 a.m. So I'd have to get up, go downstairs into this huge church. The place is called Marytown in Libertyville, Illinois, right outside Chicago. Huge, gorgeous church. And I'd be all alone. And the stillness, but the presence that was there, that I felt, was astounding. And to be there so early in the morning, to have to actually wake up and go down, and it still touches me to even think about it. And now Marytown has a live feed. So even here in my anchor hold, it's way up high and it looks down over the whole church with a close-up of the Eucharist. And I love even here in my anchor hold to be looking at that. But the difference is that now I know that I don't need to be right next to the power station to feel the power, to feel the light, because now I know it's everywhere. When I was young, I made it exclusively in one place. It's here in this piece of bread. But now I know that the presence of Christ, the I am presence, is within each one of us every moment. And so to honor that and to see that and to join with that every day as we come together. I didn't plan on saying any of this, but I just feel it bursting out of me, the joy and the gratitude for this holy joining is just beyond anything. So that being said, I do have something I want to tell you about, something kind of fun. Last night, something happened to me that reminded me of a day many, many years ago when a bunch of us, Vicky, Teddy, maybe even some others in the room, were still living at Endeavor Academy in the Wisconsin Dells, this beautiful community. We had, even at that time, probably 150 people living together. It became many more years later after I left. But I remember one day, right before our morning session, someone had put up a huge poster on the wall. It was right when these magic eye posters were coming out. I'm sure you've seen them. If you just look at it in a normal way, it just looks like a big blob of color. And here this poster is up, and there are about 5 or 6 people standing around it, and they're looking at this poster, and they're saying things like, "Oh my gosh, can you see? You can even see the baby wolf." And the mama wolf has got her mouth open and she's howling, and you can see the moon up in the corner. And I'm looking at this, and I'm not seeing anything. Like, what are you talking about? And they said, no, and they said you have to let your eyes unfocus, maybe cross your eyes a little bit. I said, okay. So I start to do that, and still nothing. And I started to think that they were just playing with me, because they're going into such great detail of all the things that they're seeing in this poster. And I'm seeing nothing. But you know what? I was determined. I was determined to see. So after they all left, after session had already started, I'm still standing there in front of that poster. I'm crossing my eyes. I'm getting really close to it and then moving away from it. I was determined to see, because I had faith that they were telling me the truth, that there really was something deeper in this poster that I wasn't seeing. And I stood there, I don't know, another 10, 15 minutes, still nothing, but I was not going to leave. And suddenly, I don't know what I did, but suddenly everything changed. My vision changed, and I looked at that poster, and it was like whoosh. That's what it felt like. Suddenly, there it was. There's the mama wolf with her mouth open, and the baby wolf, and the moon, and everything that they were talking about. There it was. And you know what else I discovered? That once I had seen this, it was hard not to see it. Once this dimensional shift happened, and I was able to see what everyone else was talking about, whenever I would walk up to it, it would maybe take 15, 20 seconds. I would just stand there and whoosh, there it was. Once again, once I was able to see, it was difficult not to see. I want you to hold on to that for a moment, because we're going to come back to it. And that brings me to last night. So last night, I was doing something on my computer before I went to sleep, and I was on YouTube, and I saw this thing called a stereogram animation. Okay, and I could just see from the little thumbnail that it looked similar to those Magic Eye posters. But what this was an actual video. So this image is moving and undulating, and something was happening. And of course, just like with the poster, I'm looking at it, and all I'm seeing is this one-dimensional thing. There's nothing really going on, but I can see from the comments below, just as they were saying at Endeavor Academy, talking about all the different things that they saw going on. So once again, I said, okay, I've had this experience before. I am determined to see. And so I sat there, and it didn't take maybe more than 3 or 4 seconds. I just crossed my eyes, and suddenly this moving object, whatever it was, this cloud of color, jumped out at me. It reminded me of some kind of a horror film. I saw a horror film once where something comes out of the screen. And this is exactly what was happening. Something was literally reaching out to about this far, maybe a half a foot outside the screen. And then it shifted, and then it went about 6 inches inside the screen. And I could see like to about 6 inches behind the screen. And then it would shift out again, and then it was changing right before my eyes. And then, of course, because I was able to see now, I sat down the computer. I didn't have to, at first I was holding it right next to my face like this, and this thing that was coming out was practically touching my nose. But then once I was able to see, as I said before, now it was hard not to see. It took effort to not see it, for it not to be this multi-dimensional animation. I sat the computer down, and I was able just to look at it normal. I didn't have to cross my eyes. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to sit there and look at the screen, and there it was. I don't know how long I spent searching and looking through all these other stereogram animation pictures. But I was there for at least another half hour. Just if you had seen me, you probably would have thought I'd gone crazy because I'm just sitting there with my computer, like, wow, oh my goodness. And it reminded me of the awakening. Yes, it's true. We have had those teachers, those brilliant lights who have come to us and said, there is more going on than the simple depth that you are perceiving, that you're looking at right now. This world that you see is so limited. There is such depth, there is such vibrancy, there is such color, there is such light that you can't even see right now. And here's how you see it. Simply do this. Let go of everything, every thought, every idea, everything that you've ever thought was true or untrue. Let it all go. Throw away this course. And then just come empty. This is how you allow this world to suddenly whoosh, and you see what has always been so clear to me. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you see it, it's hard not to see it. Once it's seen, once the reality, once the real world is seen for what it is, you don't have to do anything special. You don't have to cross your eyes or try to read. You can just sit down and look around and see what has always been there. This amazing, beautiful depth of color, of grace itself. And so as I was watching these videos last night, this is what came to me. This is the real world that surrounds us every moment. This is the grace, this is the communion that we always have. All we have to do is begin by trusting those who have come before us. It would be like me trusting those 5 or 6 people who were standing in front of that poster at Endeavor Academy, or looking at the comments and these videos and see, well, they're obviously seeing something. There's obviously something here. I may not be seeing it right now, but I'm going to do what they say. Cross my eyes, refocus, whatever it is. But after that, you don't need any instructions, because once again, once the truth has been seen, it's hard not to see it anymore. You can't go back to the way you were looking before. And that is why we come together here 6 days a week. That's what I was leading to. We come together 6 days a week so that we can support one another in shifting the focus that they have on this world to see what has always been there, to see the brilliance and the color and the depth of reality itself. It's so beautiful once you're able to see it. And then you can just sit it down, you can just relax, and it never goes away. It's hard not to see it. It takes effort to go back. And why would you go back? Why would you want to see everything in one dimension when you know what's really there? The grace and the holiness of heaven itself. So, that was my experience. And Vicki, I don't know if you remember those days at Endeavor Academy when those magic eye posters were all over the place, but I'd love to hear what you think about all this.
Oh, thank you, Jimmy. Yes, I do remember. I don't remember, was it Randy that put those up? Someone put them up.
Oh, yeah, I think it was.
Right, event. And that there was one with the old crone where you saw the profile of the old woman, right? Anyway, some things, now you see it, now you don't. In Arabic, it's Kinnu Makan. Now you see it, now you don't. And it applies in this situation, although I look at it with the eyes of love you see, with the eyes of projection and fear, you're blind. The other night, I had a personal experience where I was lying in bed, going to go to sleep, and I put on to see if what the latest news was with all of the election stuff just for a few minutes. And I got hit with this emergency call. And I sat right up in bed and I realized, oh my gosh, I could see the role the Fall Guys were playing, both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And I got such great appreciation and love for both my brothers that was personal. This is different than just focusing on my brothers that are one with me and I trust them and all this. There's a huge undoing that's happening within the sonship's mind, and there are fall guys playing their roles. And I had a tremendous love and communion with Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and thanking them for the outpicturing of whatever it is, the role they took to be helpful in this greater plan. And I fell into a dead sleep. I just remember, oh my God, it wiped me out. I had to lie down. I just lied down and I went into this communion of love because I could see something I couldn't see before experientially. And Teddy, I'm going to give you a tribute because I saw the same thing many years ago with the court case. Teddy was the front for the court case of the Course in Miracles that literally freed the copyright for everyone and everybody's version of the Course, from Robert Perry to Marianne Williamson and everything. And he was generally, and still is generally, scorned by everyone for some particular outbursts of behavior. But now you see it, now you don't. And also because I could see the underpinnings and the backstory of 7 years of court procedures in 2 continents for something he didn't literally himself do. In fact, something I did, but not him. And I could see the backstory and I could feel the tremendous love for my brother, who was willing to be the fall guy and be the one that the underpinnings were undone through, and stay standing, that gave freedom even in time and space to the whole sonship to freely use the Course in Miracles, which is no small thing. But it's the same experience of you can't judge any book by its front cover. Now you see it, now you don't. When we look, whether we look at ourselves in the mirror or we look into the eyes of our brother, if we're looking for communion and the beloved, it's right there. And the wondrous plan, the greater plan of the Holy Spirit to bring us back into unity is at hand. And wherever we look, we become possibly the fall guy if we will stand in union, so that now we see rather than now we don't. And love and trust that vision is given to us to stand tall while this plan unfolds through us, so that we each can take our part. So, and my part, I was thinking this is just an extra. And I said this to Teddy last night. I said, my part is I'm supposed to keep a pitch of joy without opposite, no matter what I seem to go through. That's the way this brother is guided to help in this greater plan of the atonement. And I think all of us have a particular specific direction that's given to us, special instructions, I would say, to each of us. And as we follow those special instructions, not comparing them to anyone on the outside and not thinking, oh, that's foolish, but simply following the inner, we will be the vehicles through which the outer will be transformed. We are the salvation of the world ourselves, literally, but it's in following what's given to us within. Now we see that, now we hear that. And don't worry about what your brother says. How can you be happy when the world is falling apart and things are miserable? And no, just follow the direction, because it will bring us all home. So thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Teddy. I wanted to be able to say that, Teddy, because your example still inspires me, because I watched it personally.
Yeah, I did too.
Love you. Thank you.
Now, Vicky, you said before that that Teddy was getting all this for something he didn't even do, that you did. So my question is, has the statute of limitation run out? Can you share with us what you did?
You know, Jimmy, it was all by accident. See, that's how the bigger plan works. So Teddy was sued in America by Ken Wapnick and in Australia by Ken Wapnick for distributing what the Academy had printed. They didn't sue the Academy, they sued Teddy individually. And he had to enjoin the Academy because they figured if they sued him, he wouldn't have any funds and he would buckle under, because Ken had sued many others before, so that everyone was constricted and couldn't use the words of the course. But Teddy, being who he is, had the strength he was the one that was attacked for what I did was in distributing all the course things that the Academy printed. Remember those little booklets?
I sure do.
Jesus speak, praying, all that. Well, we had the center in Quincy when we came back to Boston,
Right.
and I gave them up by the hundreds. I had more printed up. I had the Urtext printed up. I had everything, hundreds printed up. And Ken knew, because at Open Doors, we hosted Ken. So he knew it was me that did it all. But he never sued me, and it was for distribution. He sued Teddy, and we weren't together at the time, which is really funny. So it was for all that distribution that happened all over the place.
That's funny, because I thought you were going to say, maybe you weren't there, but I know Claire was, that actually went into the library at the Casey Foundation.
That was Katie. Katie went into the library. Katie went in and took out the things and copied them all.
Katie and Juby.
And Subi too. Yeah, there you go. Teddy will tell you the regular.
Yeah, tell us what happened, Teddy.
Well, Katie and Juby went down to the Casey Foundation, and they took the manuscript out and they copied it, because it was
the original manuscript from A Course in Miracles.
The original they copied it, and it was 10 cents a page. Then they brought it back. Now, I was in Australia when they did that, which was funny, because in Australia, when I was in the discovery phase of the trial in the United States, they had to give me all the material that they were suing me for. So they gave me a box of every single thing, that every version of the course from the original dictation on. And I sent it down to Australia. So while I was in Australia, they printed up all the pamphlets and gave them away. And while I was in the United States, they printed up the entire book in Australia and gave that away. So Ken sued me for giving away the pamphlets in the United States and giving away the books in Australia. And I didn't do either one of the things. I wasn't involved at all. And that's how everything got out. And then everybody who's got anybody who's done a book about the course, like who's put out an edition, that like the Circle of Atonement, dude, what's his name in Canada? Every single one of those books was a result of my giving the material to them freely, and then them making the books up. Now, Ken Wapnick used to call Vicky the patron saint of A Course in Miracles. So he couldn't sue her, you know.
You can't sue the patron saint.
Exactly. Because he did his first workshop at our house. And when he opened Compound, we took the first 125 people to his place. So Ken and I were friends, you know. And so I was in court for 3 years in Australia, 7 years in the United States.
Wow. And Teddy, do you remember those magic eye posters at the Academy? Do you want
Randy put them up. Randy put them up.
Yeah.
The old man was a little bit upset, but he couldn't say anything because everybody liked them.
And this whole thing of once you see,
it's
hard not to see. Tell us more about that. Like, tell us the esoteric meaning of that.
Well, I mean, that's just the way it is. I was thinking when you were talking about it, you know, it's like when I had the experience and I was shown what reality was, you know, that's eternal, that's infinite. I can't get rid of that, whether I'm seeing it or not, because it's always there. So it never leaves my mind. That it opened my mind to see what's real. Now I can look at all this and I just know it's not true. I mean, I know it's going on and it's playing out, but I know it had a beginning and it had an end. But I know in the back of my mind, which is sometimes in the front of my mind, that truth is true and nothing else is true. And what's real can't be threatened, and what's unreal doesn't exist. So it's a little bit strange walking around in a situation, you know, doesn't exist in reality. And yet you're walking around here for a purpose. And that's what it is to me. But it is really, now you see it, now you don't. Um, and it's amazing because I remember those posters, and you, like, some people could not see them. And the way they work is like they're set up so they flash, and you look at them one way and it just looks flat, and you look at it the other way and all of a sudden it's like jumping out at you. It's really, really a wild situation.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, in a moment, I'll put up a link in the chat for one of the moving ones that you can watch on YouTube. Those are really even more amazing because it's undulating and moving and coming in and going out, and it's just such a great analogy because once you see it, even if it shifts again back to one dimension, like you said, Teddy, now you know.
you
There's
can't
no
miss it.
going back.
Oh, and what you were talking about, so I get strange information. I was told that Jerry Garcia teaches the course, but he doesn't use words from the course. He uses a song. So there's a song that he has out called The Wheel. And he says, the wheel is turning and it can't slow down. You can't go back and you can't stand still. If the thunder don't get you, then the lightning will. So he says, won't you try just a little bit harder? Won't you try just a little bit more? Then he says, small wheel turns by the fire and rod. The big wheel turns by the grace of God. Every time that wheel goes round, you're bound to cover just a little more ground.
Wow, that's cool. I love that. Thank you, Teddy.